The VA appraisal is one of the most misunderstood steps in a Kentucky VA home loan, and it can make or break your closing if you're not prepared. In this video, I break down exactly how the Kentucky VA appraisal works, what the VA appraiser looks for, common repair issues that delay closings, and how the VA Tidewater process protects veterans when value comes in low. This isn't theory. This is how VA appraisals actually play out across Louisville, Lexington, and rural Kentucky.
Okay, let's be real. Buying a home can be incredibly stressful, and when you hit a big milestone like the VA appraisal, it can feel a little intimidating. But what if you knew exactly what to expect? In this explainer, we are going to pull back the curtain on the entire Kentucky VA appraisal process so you can feel confident and in control on your way to closing day. We're going to tackle this in 4 key parts. First, we'll get into what the VA appraisal is really all about. Then, we'll dig into the common repair issues that pop up specifically in Kentucky homes. After that, we're going to break down something called the Tidewater process. It's not as scary as it sounds. And we'll wrap it all up with a playbook full of proactive steps you can take. All right, first up, why do we even have to do this? It's so easy to think the appraisal is just about slapping a price tag on the house. But for a VA loan, it's doing so much more than that. It actually serves 2 really important purposes. So at its heart, the VA appraisal has 2 main jobs. Job number 1 is pretty straightforward. Confirm the home's fair market value, to make sure the loan amount makes sense. But job number 2 is just as critical. It has to verify that the property is safe, sound, and sanitary. This is what the VA calls its minimum property requirements, or MPRs for short. Now, this is a super important distinction to make. A VA appraisal is not a home inspection. I'll say that again. It is not a home inspection. The appraisal is done for the VA to protect its loan and, more importantly, to protect you, the veteran. A home inspection, on the other hand, that's for you. That's the deep dive report on every little thing, from the roof to the foundation. So, the appraiser is looking at the home's value based on what other houses have sold for nearby, sure. But they also have a mandate to look at its overall condition. They're on the lookout for anything that could affect your safety, the home's structure, or even just basic sanitation. If they see something that impacts the home's livability, they have to flag it. It's part of the job. Okay, let's move on to the stuff that actually gets flagged in Kentucky. I want you to think of this section like a pre-flight check for an airplane. It's not about finding fault with the house. It's about making sure everything is safe before takeoff. Knowing what these items are ahead of time can save you a world of headaches. So, why is this such a big deal in Kentucky specifically? Well, it really just comes down to the age of our homes. A lot of the housing stock here has been around for a good long while, which gives it that amazing character and charm we love. But it also means there's a higher chance of running into some condition-related issues that might not quite meet the VA's modern standards. So here are the usual suspects. Peeling paint on a house built before 1978, that's not just an eyesore, it's a potential lead paint hazard. A really worn-out roof, or even worse, an active leak, that can compromise the whole structure. Missing handrails on a set of stairs with 3 or more steps, that's a clear safety issue. Exposed wiring is a massive fire risk. And any sign of water getting in could mean hidden mold or rot. You see the pattern here? It all comes back to keeping the veterans safe and healthy. And let me be really clear about this. These aren't suggestions. If a VA appraiser calls out repairs, they have to be done. They have to be completed and then re-inspected before that loan can move to closing. It's a non-negotiable part of the process. All right, let's talk about a term that can cause a little bit of panic: Tidewater. But I really want you to think about this differently. Tidewater isn't a setback. It's actually a safeguard, a consumer protection tool built right into the VA system to look out for the veteran. So what is it? The Tidewater initiative is just a formal process that kicks in when the appraiser thinks the home's value might come in lower than the price you agreed to pay. Think of it like a timeout. It's designed purely to stop a veteran from accidentally getting into a mortgage that's for more than the home is actually worth. That's the big question, right? It sounds really serious, but the process that follows is actually very clear and structured. Let's walk through exactly what happens when you get that Tidewater notice. Just think of it as the Tidewater clock starting. First, the lender gets the heads up and immediately notifies your real estate agent. Then, your agent gets a chance to fight for that value. They can submit additional comparable home sales, or comps, that support the price you offered. Finally, the appraiser is required to look at all that new data before they make a final decision on the value. And that clock is ticking fast. Your agent has exactly 48 hours to pull together all that supporting data and get it submitted.
This is precisely why it's so critical to work with an agent who really gets the VA process. They know they have to be ready to spring into action.
Now, it's really important to keep your expectations in check here. Triggering the Tidewater process does not guarantee that the appraised value will go up. What it does guarantee is a second look. It's an opportunity to make sure every single piece of relevant market data is on the table before a low value becomes final.
Okay, let's bring it all together in this last section, your game plan. This is all about getting ahead of the curve. Instead of just reacting to things as they happen, you can be proactive and set your purchase up for success from the very beginning.
This quote right here really nails it. A smooth appraisal isn't just luck. It's the direct result of smart, careful preparation that starts way before an appraiser ever even gets the assignment. So here's your checklist. First, from the moment you walk through a house, try to look at it through an appraiser's eyes. Second, make sure your offer's backed up by solid, recent sales of similar homes. Third, just be mentally prepared for a Tidewater notice. If it happens, you can respond with strategy, not panic. And maybe the most important tip of all, make sure you're working with a lender and a real estate agent who are genuine experts in Kentucky VA loans.
So when you boil it all down, what's the big takeaway? The VA appraisal isn't some roadblock designed to stop you from buying a home. It is a system of checks and balances built from the ground up to protect you. The real question is, now that you know how the system works, are you ready to make it work for you?
VA loans remain one of the strongest benefits available to eligible veterans. When the appraisal is handled correctly, veterans are protected, deals stay intact, closings stay on schedule. If you're navigating a VA appraisal or Tidewater situation in Kentucky, clarity up front is the difference. Call or text 502-9053-708 with your VA home appraisal questions.